History doesn't hand power to the polite, it responds to the prepared. There comes a moment when being humble turns into being invisible, when waiting your turn becomes a lifelong delay, and when playing nice quietly turns into playing small. This is the moment most people miss, not because they aren't capable, but because they were taught that stepping forward is somehow the same as stepping out of line. It isn't. It's stepping into alignment. Here's a fact people don't like admitting. Almost every major shift in leadership, influence, or control happens before permission is granted, not after applause, not after consensus. Momentum always starts with one person deciding they've waited long enough. The world later calls it confidence. In real time, it looks a lot like audacity. What makes this uncomfortable is that taking over doesn't come with dramatic music or a standing ovation. It usually arrives quietly. You notice you're the one fixing what others avoid. You're the one making decisions when everyone else is still thinking. You're the one being copied, questioned, and occasionally side-eyed for doing what everyone secretly hoped someone else would handle. Congratulations. That's not ego, that's gravity. There's also a strange irony here. The same people who warn you not to change suddenly feel very comfortable benefiting from your leadership once things start working. Funny how resistance disappears when results show up. Apparently, confidence is only intimidating until it becomes convenient. This isn't about arrogance, domination, or pretending you're better than anyone else. It's about recognizing that some people were built to stabilize rooms, not decorate them. Some people weren't designed to blend in. They were designed to take charge when the structure starts shaking. So, no, this isn't a motivational pep talk wrapped in soft language. This is a reality check. If you feel the pull to step up, to lead, to direct the flow instead of floating in it, that's not rebellion. That's design. And apologizing for it would be like saying sorry for breathing. Number one, you're not here to be liked. You're here to be effective. Being liked is comfortable. Being effective is costly. Most people confuse the two because comfort feels like success in the short term. When people smile at you, agree with you, and keep things pleasant, it feels like progress. But nothing actually moves. No standards rise. No problems get solved. No direction changes. Effectiveness, on the other hand, almost always creates tension first. It forces decisions. It exposes weak systems. It makes excuses uncomfortable. When you step into effectiveness, you quickly learn a hard truth. Clarity offends people who survive on confusion. Saying what needs to be done makes those who avoided responsibility feel seen, and not in a flattering way. So they label you too much, too serious, or too confident. Not because you're wrong, but because you're precise. Precision removes hiding places. Being liked asks you to soften your edges. Being effective asks you to sharpen them. It means saying no when yes would be easier. It means choosing results over popularity. It means accepting that some people will only appreciate you after the work is done, if they ever do at all. And that's fine. Bridges don't need applause to carry weight. The truth is, leadership doesn't begin when people cheer. It begins when someone is willing to be misunderstood while doing what works. History rewards outcomes, not intentions. Nobody remembers who kept the peace in a broken system. They remember who fixed it. Effectiveness also demands self-respect. When you chase being liked, you start negotiating your standards. You explain too much. You hesitate. You shrink your voice to keep the room comfortable. Effectiveness doesn't do that. It speaks once, clearly, and moves forward. This doesn't mean becoming cold or cruel. It means being honest enough to choose impact over image. You can be respectful without being apologetic. You can be firm without being loud. You can lead without asking everyone if it's okay first. At some point you realize something freeing. The people who truly matter don't need you to be likable. They need you to be reliable, and reliability is built through action, not approval. Once that clicks, you stop trying to win people over and start getting things done. That's when taking over stops feeling rebellious and starts feeling necessary. Number 2, your confidence irritates people because it exposes their hesitation. Confidence is magnetic, but it also makes people uncomfortable. It's not because you're doing anything wrong, and it's not because you're better than them. It's because your clarity highlights the places where they hesitate, doubt, or avoid responsibility. Humans are more comfortable when everyone is unsure together. When you step forward with certainty, it shines a light on the choices they've been avoiding. That mirror makes them squirm. Most people confuse irritation with jealousy. Sometimes it is. But more often, it's fear disguised as annoyance. They see someone acting decisively while they've been stuck in overthinking, over-explaining, or over-compromising. Your calm, assured presence feels like an accusation they didn't ask for. The accusation that they've been standing still while the world moves. That tension isn't personal. It's just a reflection of the difference between doing and hesitating. Confidence also cuts through noise in a way that exposes the truth. Indecision hides under the guise of politeness. Avoidance masquerades as patience. Hesitation pretends to be wisdom. But when someone shows real certainty, the pretense doesn't hold. People don't like having their comfort zones disrupted. They don't like being reminded that they could have acted, but didn't. That's why your confidence irritates them. And here's the beauty of it. Irritation is a signal, not a problem. It shows that you are operating outside the orbit of fear. It shows that you're stepping where others won't. It shows that you're becoming someone who forces change simply by existing. You don't have to argue, explain, or justify yourself. Your actions speak so loudly that discomfort is inevitable, and that's exactly where influence begins. The people who matter will either step up to meet you or step aside. The rest will grumble in the background, stuck watching what they could have been doing. And that's fine, because real growth, real movement, and real leadership have always made someone uncomfortable along the way. Being confident isn't a flaw, it's a spotlight. And the irritation it creates is proof that you're no longer blending in. You're standing apart, leading, and forcing the world to take notice. Number 3, you learned responsibility early because comfort was never promised. Some people grow up thinking life owes them ease. You weren't one of them. From the start, you understood that comfort is optional, but responsibility is inevitable. You saw problems before anyone else did, felt pressure before anyone else did, and acted when others froze. That early exposure didn't break you, it sharpened you. It forced you to recognize that waiting for someone else to fix things is a gamble with no guaranteed payout. Responsibility teaches lessons that comfort never could. It makes you alert to consequences, aware of the ripple effects of your choices, and unwilling to leave important decisions to chance. You become someone who notices the cracks in systems, the weaknesses in plans, and the gaps in people's follow-through. While others sleep through easy days, you've already built the mental resilience to handle hard ones. That's why stepping into leadership feels natural for you, while some struggle just to lift their heads above the chaos. Learning responsibility early also exposes you to reality in ways most people avoid. You understand that failure isn't shameful, it's inevitable, and ignoring it is worse. You've seen what happens when people postpone decisions, pass the blame, or hide from accountability. That perspective makes hesitation painful and inaction unbearable. It gives you a quiet but unshakable certainty that doing what needs to be done, even if no one notices or applauds, is non-negotiable. There's a hidden advantage in this kind of upbringing. It teaches independence without arrogance. You learn to rely on yourself because you must, but you also learn how to guide others because you understand what it feels like to struggle alone. That combination is rare. Most people either crumble under responsibility or hoard it without understanding how to share it effectively. You've already mastered both sides. When comfort isn't promised, clarity becomes your ally. You don't waste energy on excuses or waiting for validation. You step in, handle what needs handling, and keep moving. That early training in responsibility doesn't just prepare you for life, it equips you to take over it. It makes stepping forward less of a choice and more of a natural response because you've already been doing it long before anyone was watching. Number 4, you don't ask for permission because history never waited. Waiting for someone to say it's okay is a luxury most people can't afford. The world doesn't pause for approval, and those who wait for it often get left behind. Every major breakthrough, every shift in power, every moment that changed the course of something big began with someone deciding to act first, long before consensus existed. Permission is a slow, polite illusion that rarely lines up with opportunity. You've learned that if you wait, life will move on without you. When you stop asking, you step into a rhythm that most people never reach. You realize that leadership isn't about getting the nod. It's about seeing what needs to be done and doing it, whether anyone agrees or not. Systems, people, and situations don't wait for a green light. They keep evolving, breaking, or collapsing, and if you're hesitating, someone else will fill the gap. Or worse, nothing gets done at all. Acting first becomes a necessity, not an option. Refusing to ask for permission also forces clarity. When no one is holding your hand, your decisions have to be precise. There's no room for indecision, no safety net of approval, and no one to deflect responsibility onto. That pressure sharpens your judgment and builds an instinct that can't be taught in classrooms or found in manuals. It's why people who act boldly often succeed where others stall. There's also a subtle power in autonomy. The moment you realize that your action doesn't need validation, you stop shrinking to fit someone else's comfort. You start setting the pace instead of matching it. You stop explaining why you're moving and simply move. That confidence is magnetic, unsettling to some, and inevitable to others. History remembers results, not consent. The ones who waited for permission often became spectators while the world changed around them. You, however, have learned that action precedes recognition. You don't ask because action is the only way to matter. You don't wait because the right moment rarely shows up neatly. You move first and the world adjusts. That's the mindset that separates those who lead from those who linger. Number 5, you see systems, not moments. Most people live in moments. They celebrate the highs, panic in the lows, and let their decisions be dictated by circumstances that change by the hour. You don't operate that way. You see the invisible framework behind every situation, the patterns, the flows, the weak points that will either collapse or carry forward. While others react, you anticipate. While others celebrate a temporary win, you're already calculating what comes next. That perspective is rare because it requires patience, observation, and the willingness to care more about long-term outcomes than short-term approval. Seeing systems means you don't get distracted by drama. Arguments, complaints, and fleeting trends barely register because you understand they are symptoms, not the problem itself. You notice how people interact with each other, how decisions ripple through networks, and how small choices today can amplify into massive consequences tomorrow. That's why your moves appear deliberate and almost surgical. You're not chasing applause, you're strengthening the structure, and the rest is secondary. This mindset also makes you fearless in ways others aren't. When you understand the mechanics of a system, uncertainty becomes manageable instead of paralyzing. You know what can be influenced, what must be endured, and what will collapse no matter how hard you try. That clarity allows you to act decisively when others hesitate, because hesitation is wasted energy in a system you already understand. The rare power of seeing systems over moments is that it gives you control without needing to control everything. You influence processes, guide people, and redirect outcomes without micromanaging. Your decisions are rooted in foresight rather than reaction, and that makes them almost impossible to contest. While others are busy putting out fires, you've already designed the fireproof walls. Most people will never get this view. They live distracted by what's loud, urgent, or visible. You live in the engine room, where the real levers of change exist. And that is why, when you step forward, you don't just take over a moment, you reshape everything around it. You don't see life as a series of random events. You see it as a network of possibilities, and you move in ways that align every piece with your vision. That's how true influence is built. Number 6, your calm under pressure isn't talent, it's training. Most people think composure is something you're born with, a gift some have and others don't. That's not true. Calm under pressure is learned. It's the product of repeated exposure to chaos, discomfort, and high stakes, where failure isn't just a possibility. It's a reality you've survived before. You've faced moments where hesitation could have cost everything, and each time you trained yourself to respond instead of react. That's why when others panic, you don't flinch. You've been here before, and you know that survival isn't about speed, it's about clarity. Being calm under pressure also rewires the way people see you. Most people are quick to lose their heads because stress exposes uncertainty. You, however, carry an invisible authority because your response is measured, deliberate, and unshakable. Others feel it instinctively. They sense that no matter how chaotic the situation becomes, you are not only in control of your own actions, but also subtly guiding the environment around you. That presence alone changes outcomes, often before you even speak. This calm isn't passive. It's active, strategic, and intimidating in its quietness. You don't need to shout, over-explain, or force compliance. People follow clarity and confidence, and nothing communicates that faster than composure in a storm. Your training has taught you to recognize what matters, what can wait, and what is irrelevant noise designed to distract. That discrimination allows you to act efficiently, decisively, and with maximum impact. The secret most overlook is that calm under pressure is contagious. When you maintain your center while everything else spins out, others either rise to meet your steadiness or reveal their weaknesses. You gain clarity while they lose it, and that difference creates leverage that can't be argued against. You didn't stumble into calmness. You built it, brick by brick, through every stressful moment life handed you. It's not luck, it's preparation. And when you step forward in that state, chaos doesn't just happen around you. It bends, aligns, and ultimately works in your favor. Your calm is proof that experience, not talent, makes leaders formidable. Number 7, you don't dominate rooms, you redefine them. Most people think leadership is about volume, about making sure everyone hears you or notices your presence. You know better. Real influence doesn't come from dominating. It comes from redefining the space itself, shifting the energy, and setting the tone without forcing it. When you enter a room, you don't compete with chaos. You absorb it, direct it, and quietly realign it. The air changes because your presence is calibrated to clarity, not intimidation. That's why people instinctively pay attention without you having to demand it. Redefining a room means understanding its rules without being constrained by them. You see the gaps in behavior, communication, and priorities. You spot the weak links and the unspoken tensions, and you adjust accordingly. You don't force authority because authority follows competence. Your influence emerges naturally from how the space reacts to your decisions and presence. People feel the difference even if they can't articulate why. This approach is subtle but incredibly powerful. While others are busy proving themselves, raising voices, or trying to be noticed, you are already restructuring the dynamics to make things work. You create a quiet gravity that attracts alignment and repels distraction. It's not about ego, it's about effectiveness. You understand that the goal isn't to shine alone. It's to make the room function at a higher level because you are in it. Redefining a room also exposes who is capable and who is merely comfortable. Some will rise, matching the new standard you've set, while others will shrink. That visibility isn't accidental, it's a tool. By shifting the environment, you naturally separate those who can contribute meaningfully from those who can't. You don't need applause or consent to lead this way. Leadership becomes less about asserting control and more about restructuring possibilities. When you step into a space, it isn't just filled, it's transformed. The room becomes capable of handling more, performing better, and thinking differently, all because you chose to move with purpose instead of noise. That is the quiet power of redefining a room. It's rare, it's magnetic, and it's unstoppable. Number 8, your growth threatens people who survived by staying small. Growth isn't just personal, it's visible. Every step you take forward, every skill you master, every boundary you push, exposes the inertia others have settled into. People who have built their lives around comfort, excuses, or minimal effort don't recognize your progress as inspiration. They recognize it as a threat. Your momentum highlights the choices they refused to make, the risks they avoided, and the potential they abandoned. That realization makes them uncomfortable, and uncomfortable people react. They may mask it as criticism, sarcasm, or subtle undermining. They might claim they're just being realistic or looking out for you. But underneath, it's a defensive reflex. Your growth reminds them that their survival strategy, staying small, staying safe, staying unnoticed, isn't as sustainable as they thought. The bigger you get, the more their limitations are exposed, and the more fragile their confidence feels. This is the paradox of progress. The higher you rise, the more friction you generate, not because you did something wrong, but because your action reflects the truth they've been avoiding. Most people can't handle that mirror, so they lash out in ways that seem personal. But it's rarely about you. It's about their fear of facing their own potential. Understanding this shifts your perspective. You stop taking reactions personally and start seeing them as confirmation. Confirmation that you're moving in a direction they're incapable or unwilling to follow. You realize that real growth will always provoke discomfort in some quarters. Resistance isn't a signal to stop. It's evidence that your trajectory is meaningful. This also teaches an important lesson. Alignment matters more than approval. The people who thrive alongside you are those willing to stretch, learn, and grow themselves. Those who resist are simply revealing the boundaries of their capacity. Your responsibility isn't to shrink for them, it's to continue expanding for yourself. Growth is inherently disruptive, and disruption exposes who is ready for the next level and who is not. That's the cost of progress, and it's a price worth paying. Number 9. You stopped explaining yourself because clarity doesn't require defense. For a long time, you might have felt the need to justify your choices, to clarify why you acted, or to soften the edges of your decisions so others wouldn't feel threatened. That need comes from a place of seeking approval, from thinking that if people understand you, they'll accept you. But the truth is, clarity speaks for itself. When you know what you're doing and why, the explanation becomes redundant. It's not arrogance, it's efficiency. Every word spent defending yourself is energy stolen from moving forward. Stopping the explanations doesn't mean you've stopped caring. It means you've realized that not everyone is equipped to understand, let alone support, the path you're on. Some people will interpret your decisiveness as aggression, your confidence as arrogance, or your vision as threat. Their reaction is theirs, not yours. Once you accept that, you stop wasting time crafting reasons for people who were never going to understand. You focus instead on the work, the results, and the impact that matters. Clarity doesn't need defense because it's rooted in alignment. When your actions, intentions, and goals are in sync, they're self-evident. People can see the consistency, the logic, and the outcomes. You don't have to argue your way into credibility. Your results establish it automatically. Defending yourself becomes a distraction, a signal that you're letting perception outweigh reality. True leaders understand that perception will always exist, but it only matters when it hinders progress. Letting go of explanations also shifts the energy in your interactions. Instead of convincing others, you inspire them, either to follow, adapt, or step aside. People notice when someone moves with certainty without needing validation, and that creates influence far stronger than any argument ever could. Once you stop explaining yourself, life becomes clearer, lighter, and more purposeful. You conserve energy, command respect, and maintain focus. You realize that being understood is a bonus, not a requirement, and that the power of your clarity lies in its silence. When you act decisively, aligned with your purpose, there's no need to justify. It simply speaks, and that's more compelling than any words could ever be. Number 10. You were shaped by friction, not affirmation. Most people grow comfortable when the world tells them they're doing well. They seek praise, validation, and reassurance, and they adjust their path to receive it. You weren't built that way. You were shaped by friction, the moments that pushed, challenged, and tested you, the setbacks, the resistance, the criticism, all of it became your teacher. You learned to move forward not because someone applauded you, but because the pressure demanded it. That's why ordinary encouragement never felt like enough. You thrive in tension, in the pushback, in the situations that would stop others cold. Friction reveals the real measure of a person. It exposes weaknesses, magnifies errors, and forces choices. Those who crumble under it rely on affirmation to guide them, but you learn to navigate without it. You've experienced the weight of opposition and survived. That experience didn't just make you tougher, it made you self-reliant, decisive, and unshakable. While others look for comfort, you've been honing your capacity to endure, adapt, and dominate the challenges in front of you. Being shaped by friction also teaches perspective. You notice patterns, understand consequences, and anticipate resistance before it even appears. You understand that every obstacle is an opportunity in disguise, and every conflict is a lesson waiting to be learned. That mindset makes you proactive, not reactive. It equips you to move through life with purpose, instead of stumbling through it, hoping someone will guide you. There's another subtle advantage: authenticity. When your growth comes from friction rather than praise, you're less concerned with perception and more concerned with truth. You act on reality, not opinion. You trust yourself because you've proven again and again that you can handle the heat. Most people will never understand this. They crave affirmation because they've never been forged in pressure. You were. And that's why when challenges arise, when others hesitate, or when systems resist change, you don't flinch. You move. Friction didn't just shape you. It aligned you with the kind of strength, clarity, and dominance that applause could never create. It made you unstoppable. Number 11. You don't fear being misunderstood. You fear being irrelevant to your purpose. Most people spend their lives trying to be understood, worrying constantly about how others perceive them. You don't. That's not because you're detached or arrogant. It's because you've recognized that being understood is optional, but being effective is not. Misunderstanding is inevitable when you operate beyond the comfort zones of most people. What matters isn't whether they get it. It's whether you keep moving, whether you stay aligned with your purpose, and whether your actions have impact. Relevance to your mission outweighs the fleeting approval of onlookers every single time. The truth is, being misunderstood often signals that you're doing something important. If everyone comprehends your moves, chances are you're operating inside familiar limits, following patterns others already accept. But when your decisions, your vision, and your actions confuse people, it means you're pushing boundaries. That discomfort in others isn't a problem. It's proof that you are carving a path where few dare to tread. The fear of being irrelevant, on the other hand, is what keeps you sharp. It keeps you focused on results, growth, and action, rather than spinning energy trying to please or explain yourself. Prioritizing purpose over perception changes everything. You stop over-explaining, second-guessing, and seeking validation. You act decisively because your aim is impact, not consensus. That mindset allows you to operate in a space most people avoid, where real influence is created and progress is made. Misinterpretation becomes irrelevant, irrelevant opinions fade, and the work speaks for itself. This fear of irrelevance also drives resilience. Obstacles, criticism, and doubt no longer slow you. They reinforce your need to stay aligned. When you focus on contribution rather than comprehension, every action, every decision, and every move becomes deliberate. You don't waste time on who doesn't understand. You measure success by whether your work matters, whether it moves the needle, whether it aligns with your purpose. That's why those who truly matter will recognize your value, and those who don't simply fall away. Being misunderstood is temporary. Being irrelevant is permanent. You fear only the latter, and that focus makes you unstoppable. Number 12. You take control because chaos hates structure. Chaos thrives on indecision, confusion, and delay. It spreads silently, weakening systems, breaking teams, and paralyzing progress. Most people react to it, hoping it will settle on its own, or that someone else will fix it. You don't. You step in because you understand a simple truth. Order isn't a suggestion, it's a weapon against chaos. The moment you impose clarity, define roles, and make decisions, the disorder that once seemed unstoppable begins to bend, reorganize, and align with your direction. Taking control isn't arrogance. It's the natural response of someone unwilling to let momentum slip away. Control also changes perception. People notice when someone isn't reacting to problems. They are shaping solutions. That subtle authority doesn't come from dominating conversation or displaying strength. It comes from demonstrating that chaos will not dictate terms. While others argue, stall, or panic, you move with precision. That confidence is magnetic, unsettling, and impossible to ignore. It makes the difference between someone being part of the problem and someone becoming indispensable to the solution. Taking control is also deeply practical. It means identifying weak points before they collapse, addressing conflicts before they escalate, and turning uncertainty into actionable steps. You don't chase perfection. You chase stability, structure, and progress. You don't need chaos to disappear entirely. You just need it contained and directed. And the more you do it, the more your ability to manage complexity becomes effortless. There's a psychological effect, too. When you consistently respond to chaos with structure, you create a standard that others unconsciously follow. Teams start functioning better, systems begin operating more efficiently, and decisions gain speed and accuracy. You become the anchor in environments where instability was once the norm. The world will always generate chaos, but not everyone can handle it. You do. You take control, not because it feels good, not because it boosts your image, but because structure has the power to convert disorder into results. That's why stepping forward doesn't just matter, it's necessary. When chaos meets your clarity, it stops being a threat and starts being a tool. And that is the hallmark of real leadership. Number 13. You don't apologize for ambition because humility doesn't mean shrinking. Ambition has a way of making people uncomfortable, especially those who have settled for less or convinced themselves that good enough is enough. They mistake your drive for arrogance, your clarity for cockiness, and your focus for selfishness. But ambition isn't a flaw, it's a force. It pushes you to act, to grow, and to shape environments instead of letting them shape you. Apologizing for it would be like apologizing for existing with purpose. Humility doesn't require you to shrink. It requires you to act with awareness, respect, and integrity, while still pursuing everything you're capable of. True ambition recognizes responsibility. It doesn't mean stepping on people or dismissing others. It means refusing to ignore what you were built to achieve. It's about understanding that your progress might make others uncomfortable, and that's their problem, not yours. You don't slow down to protect fragile egos. You move forward because inertia is the real enemy, and the world rewards action, not excuses. Ambition also teaches endurance. You face resistance, doubt, and criticism, but you continue anyway. You've learned that people often confuse discomfort with insult. They will question your motives, mock your energy, or even attempt to belittle your achievements. Yet, the most dangerous thing isn't that they push back. It's that you let their reactions dictate your pace. Real ambition ignores that noise. It acts, adapts, and evolves without apology. The humility in ambition is subtle but powerful. It allows you to lead without ego-driven chaos, to collaborate without losing focus, and to win without demeaning others. You don't need validation to justify your pursuit. You simply pursue. When you stop apologizing for ambition, everything changes. Doors open that were once closed, influence grows without effort, and you become a force that others can't ignore. Ambition aligned with humility isn't loud, it's magnetic. It reshapes opportunities, inspires action, and leaves a mark that mere words or explanations could never create. Shrinking isn't humility. Acting purposefully while respecting the world around you is. And that is the real power of unapologetic ambition. Number 14. You were built for this life because pressure didn't break you. It organized you. Life isn't gentle, and those who succeed quickly learn that softness is a liability. Pressure arrives without warning, demanding results, testing limits, and exposing weakness. Most people crumble under it, letting fear, doubt, or indecision dictate their actions. You didn't. Every intense moment, every setback, every challenge acted like a force molding you, not breaking you. Pressure didn't stop your momentum, it aligned it. It taught you where to focus, when to act, and how to turn adversity into advantage. Being built for this life isn't about surviving, it's about thriving in environments others avoid. Pressure clarified your priorities, filtered distractions, and sharpened your instincts. You learned which battles mattered and which could be ignored. You understood that stress isn't a signal to retreat. It's a signal to step forward, to act with precision, and to create solutions when everyone else hesitates. That is the difference between someone who reacts and someone who leads. Pressure also builds perspective. It exposes who is reliable, who is fleeting, and who contributes versus who complains. It forces you to make decisions that aren't popular, but are necessary. In that crucible, your resilience becomes visible, your confidence grows, and your clarity strengthens. You start to see patterns in chaos, opportunities in obstacles, and potential where others only see risk. What once felt overwhelming becomes a platform for mastery. The power of being organized by pressure is quiet but unmistakable. You don't need to announce your strength. It shows in your composure, your decisive action, and your ability to handle complexity with ease. Others may panic, falter, or hesitate, but you move forward because your foundation was forged in conditions that would have stopped most people. This is why you don't apologize for taking over. You were designed for challenges, shaped by friction, and aligned with purpose. Pressure didn't break you. It revealed your capacity, refined your focus, and prepared you to lead in ways that comfort could never achieve. Every obstacle, setback, and intensity became a blueprint for your strength. You don't just survive life, you command it, because you were built for it from the inside out. Conclusion. Every point, every lesson, every hard-earned truth leads to one undeniable fact. You were built for this life. You weren't shaped by comfort, applause, or convenience. You were forged in pressure, friction, and relentless challenges that most people shy away from. You move differently because you had to, think differently because you survived what others avoided, and act differently because hesitation was never an option. Your confidence, your clarity, your ability to step forward while others froze, all of it isn't accident. It's design. You don't apologize for ambition, you don't wait for permission, and you don't shrink to make anyone else comfortable. You see the patterns, the systems, and the gaps, and you act with precision and purpose. Growth doesn't intimidate you, it organizes you. Resistance doesn't deter you, it sharpens you. And pressure doesn't break you, it aligns you. You are in every way equipped to lead, to influence, and to create impact that most people only dream of. The world will notice your moves, your clarity, and your momentum. Some will resist, some will misunderstand, and some will try to pull you back. But that's all part of the journey. You don't falter because of perception, you move because of purpose. This isn't about being liked or approved. It's about being aligned, unstoppable, and undeniable. Every challenge you've faced has prepared you to take over the spaces that matter, to rise when others hesitate, and to leave a mark that can't be ignored. If you resonate with this, if this message speaks to the part of you that refuses to settle or shrink, then take it further. Subscribe to the channel to join a community of people who are built to lead. Like, comment, and share this video with those who are ready to step into their purpose. Your journey doesn't have to be silent. Let's make it powerful, visible, and unstoppable together. Stay awakened, chosen ones.